Hi, this is James. I'm here with Susie. We're at the Nina Wellness Center in Kenai, and we've been doing GPRA measures and doing little videos on here. And one of the things we're going to want to take a look at now is we're going to start delving into the diabetes measures. And the first one we're going to look at is diabetes blood pressure control. So according to GPRA, active diabetic patients defined as all active clinical patients diagnosed with diabetes, basically a diagnosis of 250 to 250.93 prior to the report period, and at least 2 visits during the report period and 2 DM related visits ever. So sometimes what you'll see is it's really good to do a patient merge in RPMS and look to see in a health summary patient merge that if you have a patient who is not a diabetic but they're showing up as a diabetic, you want to see if they were maybe diagnosed someplace else. Sometimes a visiting clinic can accidentally do it, or there is a drug that is ordered. So maybe they're doing a diabetic eye exam per se, and for some reason it looks like this patient becomes diabetic, or a coder somewhere does that. So go and see if that exists on any of those. But really what it's looking for is 250 codes. Anytime, anywhere, ever. And that's basically a diabetic patient. And then when we get into the measure itself, and this is where we can kind of run into problems a little bit. It used to be 130 over 80, but they changed, came out with new recommendations, so it's now 140 over 90. So it has to be less than. So if your patient has a blood pressure of 140 or you annotate it with a 90, they're going to show up as uncontrolled. And it takes 2 of those visits for that to happen. So if you have 2 visits with that number, now it'll take 2 visits with them underneath that number to come back into control. So that's just a really quick way to kind of know what's going on with this. So we're going to take a look at it in EHR, and what we're going to look at. So for example, if you enter this patient is in control, right? But if you actually entered this, just one of those numbers will make that patient out of control. So a lot of times the recommendation is if you kind of get a number and it comes right out at 140, give the patient 5 minutes and maybe take the blood pressure again, and we can get that number into like a 139. Again, same thing. If we look here, let's say it's 139, and if this happens to be 90, even though it's 1 point, that patient is out of control. So what we want to do again is get that below those numbers. So 139, 89 is good, 140, 90 is bad, either one. Thank you.